Hello, and welcome to the 2020 National Consumers League's Trumpeter Awards virtual celebration. I'm Sally Greenberg, Executive Director. We are so pleased that you are joining us today as we celebrate the achievements of 3 extraordinary individuals at this annual award ceremony. It's wonderful to virtually see our longtime friends and supporters. We've heard from so many people that they will dearly miss our in-person, always inspiring, and wonderful Trumpeter event. And we are with you. We so wish we could celebrate together in person. And a heartfelt welcome to all of the new faces joining us online. The National Consumers League's work has never been more relevant or critical than during this COVID pandemic. We are so glad you are here to learn a little about our rich history and our pro-consumer and worker mission. We hope you will be inspired. Thanks to all of our supporters who help us bridge the divide that sometimes exists between industry and advocacy groups. Because although we are passionate consumer advocates, we always learn a lot from each other when we take the time to listen. I want to thank this year's sponsors, especially our leadership circle, Empirical Foods, Enterprise Holdings, and Melaleuca. And thank you to our patron sponsors, AMEG Pharmaceuticals, American Airlines, FICO, Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, Prudential, and TracFone Wireless. I'd like to thank the Board of Directors of the National Consumers League, our dinner committee, and most of all, NCL staff, who are working harder than ever during the pandemic to make sure we are true to our mission and that we are making a difference for consumers and workers. Finally, I'd like to thank our distinguished honorees and the special guests helping us celebrate today. You represent the values of NCL by fighting valiantly every day for consumers. Thank you. It goes without saying that 2020 has been a very challenging year for all of us. We are finding ourselves at a crucial moment at the intersection of social upheaval, political disarray, a historic pandemic, and economic recession. Throughout our history, the National Consumers League has sought social justice reforms and protections for all Americans, and we stand united with our allies today. Police brutality, social and political division, and civility above all, these issues aren't new, but we can agree that change is long overdue. We can do better, and we must. It turns out that consumer and worker protection issues are crucial components in the fight for social justice and equality, and are at the core of fighting this pandemic and standing up for civil rights. Millions of Americans are facing economic peril like never before. The pandemic has exposed in the rawest form the continuing harm of economic inequality. For some, this year has been deadly. Please join me in a moment of silence for those who have fallen to COVID this year. Thank you. For those of us fortunate enough to survive the pandemic, this year has seen historic layoffs and unemployment, loss of health coverage, and essential workers facing uncertainty about their health and safety.
For more than 120 years, the National Consumers League has been working to protect and promote social and economic justice for workers and consumers. When the COVID crisis hit, we were ready and able to adapt. That's because this is what we do, what we've always done, and will continue to do. Our essential work is needed now more than ever. The pandemic has exposed critical issues and the need for access to quality information. In times of uncertainty, this need has never been more urgent. For crucially important preventative care, for safe and approved vaccines, for universal testing, and for overdue reforms in travel, entertainment, and other industries whose practices are often unfair to consumers. And protections are needed for workers. The need for paid sick leave so that unhealthy employees don't have to choose between bringing the virus to their workplace and being able to continue to pay their bills. Sadly, bad actors are seizing upon opportunities to take advantage of vulnerable consumers. Scammers, price gouging, suspiciously marketed miracle cures, unemployment benefits fraud, and much more are saturating the marketplace. That is why NCL's mission is paramount. This pandemic has brought NCL's long-standing advocacy into the spotlight, highlighting our crucial work at the national, state, and grassroots levels. NCL and each of our flagship programs have risen to the occasion to meet the challenges presented by the pandemic, offering quality information, new resources, and heightened advocacy on behalf of consumers and workers. NCL pledges to continue our essential work to protect your safety, health, and personal finances. NCL is working for you to help Americans cope with the upheaval to our economy and our way of life caused by COVID-19. The National Consumers League, never more relevant.
Hi, I'm Michelle Singletary, personal finance columnist for The Washington Post, and I received NCL's Trumpeter Award in 2002, although it does seem like it was just yesterday. I want to congratulate all those who are receiving the award this year. I know when I received it, I was so honored to get it from an organization that fights so hard for consumers. And we need NCL right now while we are facing such an epic health crisis and economic crisis in the U.S. So again, congratulations to all who are receiving the award this year.
I'm Randy Weingarten, president of the 1.7 million member American Federation of Teachers, and I was honored to receive the Trumpeter Award in 2011 from NCL. The National Consumers League has never been more relevant. NCL protects consumers in so many ways, from educating about how to stay safe during this COVID pandemic, to ensuring that vaccines are safe and effective, to helping consumers spot scams and fraud online. NCL has been a steadfast ally fighting for a living wage and the right of all workers to form unions. NCL has been the AFT's partner in holding student debt loan servicers accountable. NCL is also an invaluable partner in the fight for economic and social justice for consumers and workers in the United States and throughout the world. Thank you for all of this, and congratulations to this year's honorees and to NCL for your vital advocacy.
Today, we are here to celebrate allies in the ongoing fight for improved consumer and worker protections with our 2020 Trumpeter and Florence Kelley Consumer Leadership Awards. This year's honorees have earned their place amongst a truly impressive roster of Trumpeter Award recipients. The history of the Trumpeter Award and its worthy recipients tell the story of the National Consumers League, of our varied mission across a wide array of consumer and worker protection issues, and our commitment to social justice and to elevating the voices of the vulnerable. Let's take a look.
I am pleased and honored to participate in this rather unique Trumpeter of the Year awards ceremony. Who knew that the awards ceremony would be held in the middle of a international pandemic? I congratulate our 3 awardees. I received the Trumpeter of the Year award back in 2010, and a great honor. And it is wonderful to know that you have only increased and expanded your impact and role in the years since Kenneth Feinberg received this award. I congratulate you all. I wear the Trumpeter Award as a great badge of honor, and I'm glad to be part of this celebration today. Thank you, and all good wishes.
Hi, this is Herb Weisbaum coming to you from the anarchist jurisdiction of Seattle, Washington, better known to us as the Emerald City. I'm the consumer reporter at Como News Radio and a contributing editor to checkbook.org and a previous Trumpeter Award winner. So congratulations to all of tonight's winners. You know, I remember that event so well. It was October of 2003, October 5th, 2006. It was an absolutely wonderful event. You can put that back on the wall. Thank you very much. Pre-COVID, we could have a dinner together. We could hug. We could shake hands. It was a wild and crazy time. Anyway, before I go, I want to give a big shout out to the National Consumers League for all the great work you're doing. I use fraud.org as a resource all the time for my consumer stories, and I'm highly involved with Life Smarts. This is a fabulous, unique program that teaches school kids all across the country how to be smart consumers. Life Smarts, something that is needed more than ever in this day and age. So way to go, keep up the good work, NCL, and many, many more years of protecting consumers.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to begin by thanking the National Consumers League for giving me the honor of presenting the Florence Kelley Consumer Leadership Award to my colleague, mentor, and good friend, DC Attorney General Karl Racine. In the spirit of the NCL's early leader, recipients of this award are honored based on their commitment to social justice for consumers and workers, for their activism and dedication. Karl Racine lives those values every single day. For more than 120 years, the National Consumers League has been a leader in the fight for the welfare of our consumers and workers who otherwise wouldn't have the voice to do it themselves. At a time when so many Americans have lost their jobs and are struggling to make ends meet, NCL is on the front lines, helping to protect consumers and ease their financial burdens. And that is why I'm especially pleased to honor a great leader for consumer protection, a partner of mine, and a recipient of this award, my friend, Attorney General Karl A. Racine. Attorney General Racine was sworn in as the District Attorney's first elected Attorney General in 2015 and was reelected to a second term in 2018. He has fought to preserve affordable housing, employ evidence-based juvenile justice reforms, crack down on slumlords, hold employers accountable for wage theft, and has made countless strides to protect consumers from scam and abusive business practices. It has been my good fortune to get to team up with him from time to time in some of these fights, so I know firsthand the unshakable spirit and steadfast conviction he brings to the office of the District Attorney's Attorney General's office. General Racine has also been a huge ally to NCL, especially with respect to the fight against anti-consumer automatic renewal clauses. Thanks to his help, the NCL was able to help secure passage of the nation's strongest automatic renewal bill. Working together, they were able to strengthen protections for consumers from deceptive automatic renewal clauses, requiring companies to inform customers that they've been charged on a monthly basis while also giving them the option to cancel payments. Attorney General Racine has dedicated much of his time, passion, and energy to these important causes. It is clear Attorney General Racine possesses the same tough-as-nails reputation as a fighter for consumer rights as Florence Kelley, and no one is more deserving of this award than he. And so, it is without further ado that I introduce the man of the hour and my dear friend, Attorney General Karl Racine.
Hello, everyone. I'm Karl Racine, the Attorney General of the District of Columbia, and it is my sincere pleasure, privilege, and honor to accept this year's Florence Kelley Leadership Award on behalf of the Office of Attorney General in D.C. Thanks also to my friend Tish James for that warm introduction, and thanks to Sally Greenberg, Arlene Johnson, Karen Silberstein, and the rest of the leadership team at the National Consumers League, not only for the honor, but for all of the work you do on behalf of consumers every day across the United States. Since the days that Florence Kelley served as your first General Secretary well over a century ago, NCL has fought for economic justice on behalf of everyday American households, demanding safer workplaces, reliable products and services, and healthier food for all. Today, between your advocacy efforts in state legislatures and in Congress, and your excellent educational offerings directly to consumers, you aren't just protecting people's pocketbooks. In many instances, you are saving lives. I'm proud to say that for more than 5 years, the Office of Attorney General has been by your side in the push for consumer protection. This is the bread and butter of an Attorney General's work. Yet, when I took office as the district's popularly elected independent attorney general 5.5 years ago, we did not have an Office of Consumer Protection. Addressing that problem, that gap, was one of my first priorities. Since establishing our Office of Consumer Protection, OAG has completed hundreds of investigations around consumer complaints and resolved hundreds of more lawsuits. Our work has resulted in more than $17 million in relief coming back to district consumers. And we've never been busier than we've been since the start of this pandemic, responding to complaints coming in at roughly 3 times our average pace. Of course, the real credit for all of our work goes to the 15 talented lawyers and professional staff who make up the Office of Consumer Protection, led by my friend, Ben Weissman. Our team is effective, respected, and tough when necessary. They don't work for recognition, but they deserve it nonetheless. So I want to make sure that they know that this award is a direct result of their commitment to consumers in the District of Columbia and indeed throughout the country. Thank you, team. Our work is going to continue, particularly now, while millions of Americans are out of work and struggling amid this public health emergency. Too many people are at risk of losing their homes or suffering the consequences of credit score hits or drowning under debt. They need help. Advocates who will fight for them, representatives who will pass laws responsive to their needs, attorneys general who will hold fraudsters, scammers, and unscrupulous business people accountable. I can promise that we'll be doing our part in my office in DC, but we need more allies. And so I'm asking each of you to make sure that you make a plan to vote in November. Vote for candidates who care about consumer protection. Vote for candidates who care about the most vulnerable residents in our country. On behalf of all of us at the Office of Attorney General, thanks again for this extraordinary honor, and we look forward to keeping up the fight for consumers with the National Consumers League. Thank you.
My name is Sarah Nilsson, President of the Association of Flight Attendants CWA, and I'm incredibly proud to have been the National Consumer League's Trumpeter Award honoree for 2019. I want to congratulate this year's honorees, FCC Commissioner Jessica Rosenworcel, DC Attorney General Karl Racine, and NBC investigative journalist Vicky Nguyen. As we work to beat the pandemic, fight disinformation, and protect workers and consumers from exploitation, The work of NCL and these honorees has never been more relevant than it is today. Congratulations again to all the honorees, and thank you, NCL, for your critical work on behalf of all of us. We are with you. Solidarity forever.
I'm Susan Hogan, the consumer reporter for News 4, continuing NBC4's decades-long mission of providing important and impactful information to people in the Washington region. I have had the pleasure of working with Sally Greenberg and her staff at the National Consumers League since I've been in the DC area since 2016, and I always welcome the chance to partner on a story about a consumer issue with them. And these days, boy, there are many stories to tell. But today, I am so pleased to present one of 2 Trumpeter Awards to Vicky Nguyen. Vicky joined NBC News in April of 2019 as the Investigative consumer correspondent. Her reporting has been seen on the Today Show, Third Hour Today, Nightly News with Lester Holt, NBC News Now, and MSNBC. Vicky was born in Vietnam and came to the U.S. in 1979. She grew up on the West Coast and graduated from the University of San Francisco with a degree in communications. But from there, she went on to chart out a successful career that has earned her numerous awards, including 15 Emmy Awards and 3 regional Murrow Awards. Vicky is a trusted voice for consumers. Her contribution has become even more critical during the pandemic. No matter the story, you can always count on Vicky to keep consumers informed and safe. She's also written very personal, raw prose about what it's like to be an Asian American journalist witnessing anti-Asian attacks spurred by the coronavirus. In an op-ed published this spring, Vicky wrote, "I didn't become a journalist to be the story. I did it to tell important stories, to give a voice to the voiceless in this pandemic. I know I have the chance to do both." NCL's Trumpeter Award is a wonderfully fitting recognition of a great journalist, reporter, and consumer advocate, and I cannot think of a more deserving person to receive this accolade. Vicky, congratulations.
Coronavirus 101, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Oz, Dr. Torres, Vicky Nguyen, all of them assembled here.
You've heard me say it once, I'm going to say it 1,000 times. If it touches your hand, your face, or your mouth, you need to clean it. Ideally, that person should be doing their own laundry, but if you're going to do it, you got to put gloves on.
What about the countertop there?
Absolutely, same thing. Wipe it down and also let it dry, let it air dry.
Wood or stone?
Not at all.
Virus live on one worse than the other?
Not that we know of right now. Cardboard, 24 hours. Hard surfaces like plastic and stainless steel, 2 to 3 days. The study that just came out showed that.
How do you make your own?
And we're seeing that, and people are telling me on Twitter all across the country, I can't get my hands on some of the products that you're showing. You probably have some of these things in your home, like bleach. This is easy. Just a 1/3 cup of bleach solution into a gallon of water.
Vicky, what about those masks that you see some people have and they have like little vents in them?
Multiple public health experts have come out and said those masks are not helpful because they allow your germs to escape through the vents. You have a face shield I brought for you to try.
Yeah.
I'll put one on too. And you'll feel the difference right away. See?
From handrails to elevator buttons, indoors and out. Could the coronavirus be here? Asian Americans targeted for their race.
Get out of our country!
In Texas, this person yelling at a Vietnamese restaurant owner.
Get out!
To demonstrate what you should expect, my family and I are doing something we haven't done in nearly 4 months. We're going shopping.
What's your advice when we're social distancing?
I think you said it, backyard. That is key. Anytime you can keep your event outside. I definitely can't do it with this 2-layer cotton mask. I cannot. But what about with this single-layer gaiter? I'm gonna hold the candle at the same distance. Good evening to the National Consumer League, and congratulations to my fellow award recipients. I am very honored to accept this 2020 Trumpeter Award. I can truly say this is one of the highlights of my year. And what a year it has been for all of us. In 20 years as a journalist, my reporting has taken me all over the country. I started working in Orlando, Florida as a one-man band. Then I moved to Reno, Nevada, where I worked for the ABC affiliate. My career then took me to Phoenix, Arizona, where I worked for a Fox-owned station. And then I went to home, where I grew up, the Bay Area of California. Recently, though, in my current role over the last year and a half, I am now in New York City at NBC News as the Investigative and Consumer Correspondent. And I have to say, I feel an even greater responsibility in my reporting because my work now reaches millions of people. I focus on reporting that helps people live smarter, safer, healthier, and wealthier lives. I want every viewer to walk away from my stories saying, that's good to know, because what they learned will empower them to make the right decisions for themselves and for their families. Before the pandemic, our stories were wide-ranging. We investigated fraud through new banking apps. We warned consumers about retirement scams. We illustrated how seatbelts on school buses could save lives. We also revealed how a decades-old Supreme Court ruling prevented active duty military members from suing for medical malpractice. Our reporting led to changes. The president signed the Defense Act, and that included a provision that will now allow our troops to seek compensation in cases where they are given negligent medical care. The FDA issued a voluntary recall of a textured breast implant linked to cancer after our reporting exposed the adverse health outcomes on thousands of women. Over the last few months, we have turned our focus to consumer issues that matter most to people who are trying to navigate through this COVID-19 crisis. From how to safely buy groceries to the best types of masks for kids, we've looked at antibody tests and saliva tests. We've also tried to help consumers understand what they need to know before they get tested. It is a very unique time to be a working journalist because we are experiencing what our viewers are going through in real time. How do you juggle working from home when your kids are now also schooling from home? How do we spot scams when we're trying to buy products that promise to protect our families from coronavirus? How do we help consumers get back millions of dollars in refunds that they're entitled to from third-party travel companies? These are just a few of the questions that we are working to answer every day on NBC News, whether it's on the Today Show or Nightly News with Lester Holt, or on NBC News Now, where we're actually reaching millions of people who get their news online and not through broadcast TV. In the middle of a 100-year worldwide health crisis, consumer journalists and advocates like you all who look out for all of us are critically important. We're looking at a vaccine that could come out by the end of the year. We have to do our homework to figure out whether it's going to be safe and effective. People are depending on information like this to help make important life-saving decisions. So it is with that knowledge that we have a great platform and a great privilege to share what we learn and to empower Americans to make the right decisions. I'm so honored to receive the Trumpeter Award and to be in your company this evening. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Chris Shelton, and I'm the president of the Communications Workers of America. I'm honored to be able to introduce one of this year's National Consumer League Trumpeter Award winners. My union, CWA, serves on NCL's board of directors. We serve on the board because we value the work and partnership of the National Consumers League. We value the historical impact the league has had on our country and grateful for the work it is doing today in this unprecedented environment of challenges facing consumers and workers, particularly in telecommunications. This year's awardee, Jessica Rosenworcel, has used her position as a federal communications commissioner to fight for greater access to telecommunications services for all Americans. Too often, FCC commissioners accept the marketing pitches of telecom lobbyists without question, not Jessica. She digs for the truth behind the numbers and understands the needs and concerns of the people who are most affected by the FCC's decisions: teachers and students, healthcare workers and patients, first responders and small businesses, and tens of thousands of telecom and media workers, including the members of my union. She has fought to protect, update, and expand the Lifeline program, which connects low-income households to critical telecommunications services, which is especially important during the current public health and economic crisis. Jessica is the voice of consumers and workers at the FCC. She has welcomed CWA members into her office to provide perspective on what is really going on in the communities we serve. Her focus on greater opportunity, accessibility, and affordability in our communication services and her tireless advocacy on behalf of workers and consumers has never been more important. Jessica, on behalf of CWA's members, I thank you for your dedication and congratulate you on receiving the 2020 National Consumer League Trumpeter Award. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, for that wonderful introduction. It is such an honor to be introduced by someone who has done so much on behalf of those who work and toil in communications. So thank you. And a big thank you also to National Consumers League for this Trumpeter Award. The work you do to protect and advocate for consumers is so vital and so important. Now, I wish we were able to celebrate together, but this virus has shifted so many things, this event included, online. But I can't think of a more important time to talk about the importance of being connected. Because this pandemic is so crazy. It has upended so much in our day-to-day lives. Work for so many of us is at home or done remotely. School doors are shut and students are told to go online for classes. We meet with doctors and nurses through telehealth, and birthdays, anniversaries, graduations, and so many other milestones involve gathering online. And from where I sit at the Federal Communications Commission, this pandemic has proven with total clarity that access to broadband is no longer nice to have. It's need to have for everyone, everywhere. And that's why I pushed my agency to do so much more when it comes to getting consumers online and keeping them connected, because an internet connection is essential for any semblance of normal life during this crisis. And it's critical for opportunity when we get to the other side. And right now, this is especially true as we head into the fall and school has started. I mean, for so many families, school this year looks a lot different than in the past. Instead of heading into classrooms, supplies in hand, students are sitting at kitchen tables, on sofas, and at their desks in their bedrooms, trying to log into their online classrooms. But millions and millions of students who are caught in the homework gap can't get there. Because they lack internet at home, they've been locked out of the virtual classroom. And so I want to take a moment and acknowledge the students and families who are trying to find solutions to this homework gap, this big problem in our nation's digital divide. Because you're probably like me and you've seen images of small children huddling around an available hotspot just to share a signal so they can learn with their classmates. Or maybe you've seen pictures of people in parking lots trying to access Wi-Fi in a hot car just because they have to write a midterm or take a test. Now, every one of those students and the families that they're from have extraordinary grit. But in the United States of America, it shouldn't be this hard. Now more than ever, we should solve the homework gap and come up with policies to ensure no child is left offline. So you gave me a Trumpeter Award to honor those who call out in support of justice, fairness, and safety for all. And I can tell you, I will keep using my voice to speak up about the homework gap, the digital divide, and the fact that everyone in this country needs to have a broadband connection to have a fair shot at 21st century success. So thank you, National Consumers League, for this honor, and thank you for the work you do.
Dear sisters and brothers from National Consumers League, this is a privilege for me to congratulate honorees of this year's Trumpeter Award. I remember how important and useful was for me when I received this award in early mid-90s. This has helped me in strengthening and spearheading my campaign against child labor and child slavery in carpet industry in South Asia. I would also take this opportunity to thank and express my deep respect and gratitude to National Consumers League for informing consumers about the COVID-19 pandemic and to educate them how to remain safe. Dear friends, once again, what I said many years ago while receiving award is that it gives us strength as honorees, awardees, but it also gives a deeper moral responsibility. As a consumers, you can definitely make a difference in ensuring that child labor is not used anywhere, and we can become much more responsible consumers, much more responsible corporates, and much more responsible citizens of the world. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. For more than a century, NCL has led the charge to improve the lives of consumers and working people on the issues that matter most to us. You educate, you advocate, and you fight like hell. Your work has always been important, but it has been a lifeline for thousands and thousands of working people this year. Every day, we're stocking the shelves and lifting the loads and healing the sick. Millions of working people who are out of work want to get back to work, but we can't do it alone. From the onset of this pandemic, you've been helping people stay safe during the crisis with no end in sight, helping us spot scams and fraud online, and holding big businesses accountable. On behalf of the AFL-CIO's 56 affiliated unions and 12.5 million members, thank you. Working people will beat this virus, and we know the National Consumers League has our back. God bless you and stay safe.
Afternoon. I'm Maria Cardona. I'm a CNN and CNN Espanol political contributor, as well as a principal at the Dewey Square Group and host of the Maria Show on El Rey Network. I am so pleased to be with you here today. I have joined NCL in celebrating the Trumpeter Awards in recent years, and I'm so delighted to have the opportunity to do so again virtually this year to help NCL honor these deserving recipients. Congratulations to all of our honorees for the well-deserved recognition these awards provide. And thank you on behalf of our nation's consumers and workers for your commitment and resilience. We need leadership like this in the country now more than ever before, and you are each role models on that front. Today, I have the honor, as I did with the late John Lewis just 3 years ago when he received NCL's Trumpeter Award, to talk with our honorees in more depth about their work. What has motivated them? And what do they see as the challenges facing American workers and consumers in today's incredibly challenging environment? Let's welcome them back to the virtual stage. Thank you all for joining us for this conversation today, and what an honor it is to have this chance to speak one-on-one with each one of you. Let's get started. As we have heard today, NCL and its early leaders were involved in laying the groundwork for some of the most important consumer protections that we enjoy today. But there remains a tremendous need for consumer protection, maybe now more so than ever before, especially because of what we are facing with this global pandemic. The coronavirus and the resulting economic crisis have shined a spotlight on economic inequality in our country. The digital divide makes it more difficult for millions of Americans to get access to broadband connections, the equivalent today of what electricity was in the 1930s and 40s. Commissioner Rosenworcel, you're at the FCC. What do you feel are the most crucial issues facing consumers today in this rapidly changing marketplace and this incredibly challenging political climate? What protections are most under attack, and what should advocates be most on the lookout to do? Well, thank you, Maria. Thank you, NCL. And I think you stated it really well. This pandemic has revealed a really hard truth, and it's this: our nation's digital divide is really real and really big. In fact, it's bigger than our official statistics suggest, and we all know it now because we see it right out there in the open. When we see kids sitting outside of a fast food restaurant just to catch a wireless signal to go to online class. And we see it with people sitting in their parking lots and cars trying to get free Wi-Fi to connect with their employers and with healthcare. It's just not acceptable. We can't consign so many people in this country to the wrong side of the digital divide. We've got to figure out a way that every person in this country is connected. We need 100% of our households online. And in some cases, that'll be a challenge for adoption and affordability. But in other places, it'll be about deployment, especially in rural areas where the infrastructure might be lacking. But the bottom line is we need 100% of our households connected, just like with electricity and just like with water. And when we get 100% connected, we need to do everything possible to make sure that it is affordable for consumers, reliable for consumers, and ultimately available for all. Thank you, Commissioner. NCL has also spent many decades working on behalf of consumers on fraud prevention and education through its fraud.org and Alliance Against Fraud. With the economy in free fall due to COVID, consumers across America are wondering how they're going to make ends meet. That creates fertile ground for scammers who prey on the most vulnerable among us: lottery schemes, government grant scams, utility imposters. They are all out there seeking to separate desperate consumers from their last dollars. Attorney General Racine, tell us how and what you are seeing these pandemic scams evolving, and how are you trying to keep businesses honest? And what message consumers who are tuning into our event tonight should take away about staying safe from all of these scams during these uncertain times?
Thank you very much, Maria, and thank you so much to NCL, and congratulations to my co-honorees. We're seeing a lot of fraud in the District of Columbia. Unfortunately, the pandemic was not a holiday or an opportunity for scammers and fraudsters to all of a sudden become benevolent law followers. In fact, my office has received over 900 consumer complaints in just a 3-month period that the pandemic started, from March to June. Ordinarily, in a given year, we receive 1,200 complaints. The complaints spanned the nature of the areas that you just described, Maria. There were scams trying to separate people from their hard-earned money to go to not-for-profits that didn't exist. There were scams that were trying to get people to buy PPE at discounts that did not exist. And of course, there were all kinds of scams that were impacting workers who fundamentally deserved and needed PPE weren't getting it. My fellow attorney generals in the office here in the DC have brought numerous suits against folks who have tried to gouge consumers. We've also sought to protect workers by using our bully pulpit to get companies like Amazon and some of the others who play in the gig economy to treat gig economy workers better in terms of their sick leave and other benefits. Fortunately, those efforts have proved successful and we've been able to protect workers. In terms of advice to residents, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. And second, now is not a time to establish a new business relationship with an individual or an entity who you or your family or your best friends have not previously dealt with. Keep an eye on your money and rely on your good wits and good wisdom, and don't be afraid to call your local Office of Attorney General for help.
Great advice, Attorney General. Thank you so much. Vicky, let me turn to you. As a fellow journalist, I look to you for insights on this question. In this era of instant news and social media saturation, in the season of a hotly contested and divisive presidential election, in a more divided society than ever before, in an age when information and misinformation travels way too quickly to keep up with, how has your job evolved to address consumers' needs? How do you find inspiration to keep up the good fight so tirelessly, to keep people honest when there is so much inaccurate, sometimes dangerously so, and sometimes purposefully so, news competing for viewers' attention? Tell us about some of your recent challenges and successes in achieving quality journalism at a time that feels like it is more at risk than ever before.
Maria, thank you for that great series of questions, and congratulations again to the other honorees. It really is a pleasure to be here and part of this discussion. I've already learned so much from just listening to the two previous answers. Maria, as you know, the most important asset that we have as journalists is our credibility. Building trust with a viewer or a reader is like building trust with anyone. It takes time and it takes consistency. I've always felt that responsibility to make sure that what I'm reporting is true, that it's accurate, that it's fair. And you're right, with social media and cancel culture, the stakes are higher than they've ever been before. I think you got to do your best to make sure that you don't make mistakes. But when you do, to be honest about those mistakes and to hold yourself accountable the same way you would hold anyone else accountable in your reporting. In my role as an investigative and consumer reporter, I feel really fortunate because I have such a broad coverage area. Almost nothing is off the table for us. Some recent successes, we can investigate Major League Baseball, as we did last year when we looked at data across the league about how often balls leave the field and enter the stands and injure fans. That investigation was the tipping point. By quantifying it and putting a hard number on how many fans are injured by these stray balls, 2 months after our report aired, Major League Baseball announced it would extend netting to the foul poles for all 30 of its stadiums. So for us, we considered that a win because we have that power, that platform to put a spotlight on something that may result in a safer and a better life for consumers. In this current pandemic, I'll say that our stories are hyper-focused on giving consumers news and information that really helps them to protect their families, whether it's how to go back to work or school safely, or what to consider if they have to jump on a plane, or maybe they want to get back to the gym. So the evolution of my job has really turned to this current state of affairs, and as you can see, we are working from home. So whether it's explaining the differences between COVID-19 tests or how indoor air circulation and filtration works, for me, the goal with every report is to give the viewer information that helps them so that they can live a smarter, healthier, hang on one sec, safer life. And I really want them to walk away saying, you know what, that was good to know. So for me, it's really about empowering people to make the very best decisions that they can for themselves and for their families.
Finally, for more than 120 years, NCL has led the charge for consumer and worker protections across many administrations and across many political backdrops. Never before has it, or any of us, faced an environment quite like today's, like we were just talking about. These are challenges we never knew we were going to have to face. When our government, policymakers, and the American public itself are all very divided, and when the pandemic has upended our life as we knew it and created a deeper divide between classes and real suffering for some. So this is a question for all of you. The late Representative John Lewis, member of Congress from Georgia and legendary civil rights crusader, and with me during dark times a few years ago,
He encouraged NCL on the NCL stage and all of us during the live audience to remain hopeful, to remain positive and optimistic about the direction our country has taken, and to inspire young leaders. How can we reinforce his message today? And what is each of your charges for NCL and for viewers? Let's start with Commissioner Rosenworcel.
What a loss to our country that he's no longer with us. But I think he has an extraordinary message, right? We should all be impatient optimists. Optimism gets things done, but it's okay to be dissatisfied because we all have the power within us to make change. So we've got big, big challenges, but let's use that big power that every consumer has, every citizen has, to organize and make things better. And let's not cede that power to cynicism. Let's be optimists, but let's be a little bit impatient too.
That's great. Attorney General Racine, how about you?
Well, thinking and reflecting upon John Lewis's life, I'm struck by how John Lewis always gave attention and careful ear to young people. And I think our job as older folks is to listen to our young people. And what our young people are telling us all around us is that this is an opportunity for racial reckoning in the United States in a peaceful way that uplifts and educates and is focused on giving people fair and just opportunity. I am totally motivated by the overwhelmingly peaceful protests that we've seen throughout the country, including in Washington, D.C. It's a multi-generational effort that I think is going to bring real change. It's the kind of good trouble that John Lewis advocated for. So I think the wisdom here is in the listening. And the people we should listen to mostly are our young people.
I love that. I couldn't agree with you more. Vicky, what about you?
I'm really humbled to be in the company of Representative Lewis through the connection of NCL. And I have to say, I recently talked with a group of young people. They were about 12 to 15 in age, and we were talking about the effect of the pandemic on tweens and teens, and they have really been through some very tough times. Some even lost close relatives to COVID-19. But I left that conversation feeling so inspired because they were so smart, so articulate, and so independent with their thinking. So it gave me a lot of hope. And I have to say, I think as adults that we can continue in the legacy of John Lewis by inspiring our young people and giving them a voice, by listening, as AG Racine just said, and by our own example. You know, make the effort to have those tough conversations with the young people in your life, whether they're your children, whether they're someone you're mentoring or managing. I think we cannot shy away from these uncomfortable topics, and we can't yearn for things being the way they were. Life is an evolution, and they always say the only constant is change. So the better that we equip our young people with the ability to adapt and to embrace that change, the better our future will be. And I would say for NCL, please keep fulfilling your mission, finding messengers to spread the word about what you're fighting for. You know, the recent victory with the airline change fees, I have to say, no one likes those. And we're always having to change and make things and, make new arrangements and that sort of thing. So to have an end to something like that, that puts millions of dollars back in consumer pockets, that's something worth trumpeting for sure. And effectively getting that message out to people about how NCL is championing those causes that help save our money, that save our health. Please keep that mission going.
I want to thank all of you tonight for doing everything that you're doing. You more than deserve this award. I want to thank NCL for your incredible, tireless work throughout the years. I want to thank you all for speaking frankly, because these are tough topics of conversation. And again, to your advice, honorees, we need to have the courage to have those conversations. So from the bottom of my heart and from the bottom of NCL's heart, I want to thank the honorees for speaking frankly with us tonight. It is evident that leadership like yours is needed desperately for our country now more than ever before. So thank you so much. God bless you.
Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you for having us.
What a treat to be able to see this lineup of consumer advocates together. And what an incredible discussion. I loved hearing about the inspiration our Trumpeter honorees have taken from the late Congressman John Lewis, and also on the value of listening to everyday young people and their unique perspective on today's opportunities for change. What powerful words. I want to thank Maria Cardona for joining us again this year to host the discussion. To our amazing and deserving honorees and special guests, thank you. We are proud to be with you in this fight. To our sponsors, allies, and friends watching today, we appreciate your support more than ever in this time of economic uncertainty. Impatient optimism, what a perfectly simple concept to describe the work of the National Consumers League and its allies today and through history. Affecting change for the sake of improving lives is at the center of all that we do. And we will continue to do so. We welcome you to join us in our movement and are happy to have you with us here today. Stay safe and stay healthy.